The smell of fresh paint still lingered in the air as I pulled into the long, winding driveway. After months of searching, I'd finally found it, a sprawling mansion with a history as rich as its architecture. This wasn't just a house. It was the start of a new chapter, a place to build a future. I parked my car, grabbing the small box of personal items I'd brought for the first night. Stepping out, I breathed in the crisp evening air, a smile spreading across my face. This was it, home. I walked up the grand stone steps, fumbling for the antique brass key. But as I reached the massive oak doors, I noticed something odd. A dim light flickered from one of the downstairs windows. Strange. I was sure the power was scheduled to be turned on tomorrow. Maybe the previous owners left something behind. I inserted the key, turned the lock, and pushed the door open. The creak echoed through the cavernous foyer. "Hello," I called out, my voice swallowed by the high ceilings. "Anyone here?" Suddenly a woman appeared at the top of the grand staircase. She was in her late 50s, dressed in an immaculate twin set, her blonde hair perfectly coiffed. She stared down at me, her expression a mixture of confusion and pure indignation. "And just who are you?" she demanded, her voice sharp and commanding. "How did you get in here?" I was taken aback. "I'm sorry, I should ask you the same thing. I'm Garrett, the new owner." The woman let out a short, incredulous laugh. "The new owner? Don't be ridiculous. This is my son's house. I am Constance, and you, sir, are trespassing." I blinked, completely bewildered. "Your son's house? I just closed on this property yesterday. I have all the paperwork." I held up the key as if it were proof enough. Constance descended the stairs with a predatory grace, her eyes never leaving mine. "Paperwork can be forged. I am the president of the homeowners association in this community, and I know for a fact that this property belongs to my family. Now, I suggest you leave before I call the police." This had to be a joke. A very, very bad one, ma'am. With all due respect, there's been a huge misunderstanding. This is my house. I paid for it. The deed is in my name. She scoffed, pulling a phone from her pocket. "We'll see about that." She dialed with a flourish, her voice dripping with venom as she spoke. "Yes, police. I'd like to report a break-in. There's a man in my home, claiming he owns it." "Yes, I'm at 14 Willow Creek Lane. Please hurry. I feel very threatened." I couldn't believe what was happening. I was being treated like a criminal in my own home. Threatened? I haven't done anything. I'm just trying to move into my house. "Your lies won't work on me," she sneered, ending the call. "The police will be here shortly, and they will escort you off my property. And I will make sure the HOA blacklists you from ever even thinking about buying in this neighborhood again." We stood in a tense standoff in the marble foyer, the silence broken only by the ticking of a grandfather clock I hadn't noticed before. It was a beautiful piece, likely worth a fortune. Just like everything else in the house I now apparently had to fight for. Within minutes, the flashing blue and red lights painted the walls of the foyer. Two officers entered, their expressions serious. Constance immediately rushed to them, a picture of a damsel in distress. "Oh, thank goodness you're here, officers," she cried, pointing a trembling finger at me. "That man broke in. He's trying to steal my son's house." One of the officers, a tall man with a calm demeanor, turned to me. "Sir, can you explain what's going on here?" I took a deep breath, trying to stay composed. "Officer, my name is Garrett. I purchased this house. The sale was finalized yesterday. This woman was here when I arrived, and she's claiming it's hers." Constance interrupted. "He's lying. My son, bless his heart, is traveling abroad. He left me in charge of his estate. I've been living here for weeks." The officer looked from me to Constance, then around the opulent foyer. "Ma'am, do you have any proof of ownership, a deed, or utility bills in your son's name?" Constance's face faltered for a second. "Well, everything is in a safe, and my son has the combination, but I live here. My things are upstairs." "And sir," the officer said, turning back to me, "do you have proof of purchase?" "Yes, of course," I said, pulling out my phone. "I have the digital closing documents, the wire transfer confirmation, emails from the title company, everything." I showed him the screen, scrolling through the official documents, my name clearly listed as the buyer. The officer examined the phone, his brow furrowed. He then turned to his partner. "Looks legitimate." Constance's face turned a shade of purple. "Digital documents. Those could be fake. I demand you arrest him." The officer sighed. "Ma'am, this appears to be a civil matter, not a criminal one. Based on the evidence he's provided, we can't just remove him. This needs to be sorted out with lawyers." "Lawyers unacceptable," Constance shrieked. "This is my home." Despite her protests, the police explained they couldn't take action without a court order. They advised us to contact our legal representatives and left, leaving Constance and me alone again in the vast, echoing house. The air was thick with her fury. "This isn't over," she hissed, her eyes like daggers. "You have not heard the last of Constance." With that, she stormed up the stairs, leaving me standing alone, the new owner of a mansion and a massive unexpected problem. The next few days were a legal nightmare. Constance's lawyers filed an emergency injunction to have me removed, claiming I had acquired the property through fraudulent means. My own lawyer was baffled. He confirmed my purchase was ironclad, the seller was a reputable estate firm, and the title was clean. So how could this be happening? We were all summoned to an emergency court hearing. Constance sat across the aisle, looking smug, surrounded by a team of high priest lawyers. She presented a will, supposedly from the previous owner, her distant cousin, which named her son as the sole heir. It looked official. My heart sank. Had I been scammed? Was my dream turning into a financial disaster? My lawyer argued that the sale was legal, that the title company had insured the transfer. But Constance's lawyer was slick. He painted me as an opportunistic vulture, preying on a grieving family. The judge seemed conflicted, leaning towards granting Constance's injunction while the estate was sorted out. My dream was slipping through my fingers. Then, my lawyer, a brilliant guy named Ben, had a sudden thought. "Your Honor," he said, "before my client bought the property, he commissioned a deep historical survey of the land, going back to its original founding." Constance's lawyer scoffed. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Everything," Ben said, a sly smile on his face. He pulled out a thick, leather-bound document from his briefcase. This mansion wasn't built on just any land. It was built on land granted by the state in the 1800s. And that original land grant came with a very specific and unbreakable covenant. He opened the document to a marked page. The covenant states that the land and any structures on it can never be inherited through a will or passed down through familial succession. Upon the owner's death, if no direct sale is in progress, the property must revert to the state to be sold at public auction. It can only ever be transferred by direct sale. The courtroom fell silent. Ben continued, his voice resonating with authority. Constance's cousin, the previous owner, knew this. That's why he arranged for the estate to be sold through a firm upon his passing. The will she presents is irrelevant. By the very foundation of this property's existence, her son could never have inherited it. My client's purchase, however, is a direct sale, the only legally valid way to transfer this property. Constance's face was a mask of disbelief, the color draining from it completely. Her lawyer was speechless, frantically flipping through his own papers, but he knew he was beaten. The ancient words on that grant were ironclad. The judge examined the document, his eyes wide. He cleared his throat. "In light of this extraordinary evidence, the court finds the plaintiff's claim to be without merit. The injunction is denied. The property legally belongs to Mr. Garrett." He slammed the gavel down, the sound sealing my victory. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It was over. The house was truly mine. As we left the courtroom, I saw Constance, looking defeated and small. Her reign as HOA president, and her attempt to steal a mansion, had come to a crashing, humiliating end. Driving back, I didn't head to a hotel. I headed home. This time, as I walked up the stone steps, there was no strange light, no angry woman waiting to accost me. There was just silence, and the promise of a new beginning. I opened the door, and this time it felt right. This time, I was finally home. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.